Okay, perfect. Well, hi everyone. My name is Vindhya. I will be leading today's meditation session. So, sorry for the delay, just trying to get everything together. But just a little bit about me. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I did my doctorate of pharmacy at Auburn University, and I'm currently practicing as a clinical pharmacist at a hospital system based out of New Orleans, Louisiana. I've known Sheetal since I was 3 years old. She's the one that introduced me to meditation. I've been loving every single bit of my journey. I am fairly new to meditation myself, but it's definitely been a rewarding journey. And I know there's a lot of people on this call that are also fairly new, so I hope it's been rewarding for you as well. So, today I'm just going to be going over how meditation affects the different chemicals found in your body and how meditation can help with stress, mood, sleep, and just your overall well-being. I'll just give a very brief overview and not try to bore you with any details. I will discuss this topic first and then give a give some time for you guys to ask any questions and to also talk about your journey because I think it's been 11 days now. So, I would love to hear more about that. And then we'll go straight into meditation. And then if you would like to continue afterwards as the session ends, please do so. So I am going to get started. I just want to make sure you guys can see my screen though. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm going to start. Okay, so the seven chemicals that I'm going to go over today are listed on the slide, and I'm sure many of you guys have heard most of them, if not all. The first chemical I'm going to go over is called cortisol. It's often called the body stress hormone. It's made in the adrenal glands, which are on top of your kidneys. So when your brain senses any kind of stress, it sends a signal to these glands and it releases cortisol into the bloodstream. Then the cortisol will travel throughout your body to help you respond to the stress. But I think when we think of cortisol, that's what we think of. You like regulating your body's stress response, but also it plays a lot of different roles in the body. Like it helps control your blood sugar and your blood pressure, and it even influences your sleep cycle. I think of it as like your body's built-in thermostat, right? So having too much of cortisol or having too little, it's a bad thing. It's going to negatively affect your body. So you always want to try to maintain a balance. I have added a graph. It's at the bottom of the screen. It basically shows you how cortisol levels will fluctuate throughout the day. So they're highest in the morning, and it's going to help you wake up and give you that energy. And then it'll gradually decrease throughout the evening and help you wind down. There are certain factors that will increase cortisol, like physical stress, emotional stress, poor sleep, and an unhealthy diet. But also, on the other hand, factors that do decrease your cortisol levels include like meditation, quality sleep. And I say quality because you can get your 8 hours, but try to make sure that you don't wake up in the middle of the night and you're not tossing and turning. Also, regular exercise, regular or like moderate exercise, you want to make sure that you're not pushing your body to the point where you can't, you're just like pushing yourself to an extreme. We just want to make sure that you and your body feel safe. And also, eating well-balanced diets help reduce cortisol. So there's like a lot of research out there that shows that meditation is particularly effective at lowering cortisol. There was a study done in 2013 by UC Davis Center for Mind and Brain that found that practicing meditation can reduce cortisol levels in the body. And more recently in 2019, there was research published that found that long-term meditators recover faster from stress, showing that, not daily meditation can improve how our bodies respond to stress, but, you know, uh, obviously, you do a little bit every day, but doing it, continuing with that, your bodies will become better at responding to stress. And then also being part of like structured meditation programs, like something like this, have been shown to reduce anxiety and depression and stress while improving your overall quality of life. So just these short daily sessions of like mindfulness and like focusing on your breathing can help lower those cortisol levels and calm the body's response system. Okay, So the next chemical I want to talk about, it's called serotonin, and I feel like this is the one that most people know or talk about. It's often called the happy chemical. It plays a really large role in how we feel emotionally, so it helps us feel calm, happy, and safe. But its impact goes beyond its mood, so it also regulates like sleep and digestion, appetite, bone health, so all of that good stuff. I do want to have like a little interactive session as well. I think when I think of serotonin, I think of like having a little serotonin boost. So if you do something that you like or you have a really happy thought, you're going to experience this serotonin boost. So these activities are going to trigger serotonin release in your brain. And when it releases the serotonin, you're going to feel very positive and happy. So what makes you guys happy? For me, it's like eating my favorite meal or like going out in the sun. That's what boosts my serotonin levels. So if you guys want to drop in the chat, I'll give you guys 30 seconds to tell me what makes you happy and we can talk about that. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Good
So since
work.
how long you've been practicing meditation with India?
Oh yeah, I haven't been practicing for long. I want to say I think the beginning of this year or like the very end of last year, I was introduced to
Okay.
it by Sheetal Auntie, so I'm fairly new. Yeah.
Okay. So you're currently working or still studying?
Oh, I'm currently working. Yeah, I finished my
Okay.
residency last year, so I guess this is my like technically my first year of working in the hospital and stuff.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So good work in food, walking, talking to friends and family, walking, spiritual music, music in general. Yeah, these are all really good things that will make people happy and boost your serotonin levels. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for dropping things in the chat. So yeah, like I said, these activities are going to trigger your serotonin release and help you feel positive. So how is serotonin made in the body? It usually starts with the foods that you eat, so cheese, tofu, nuts, and seeds. Um, they are, I won't try to get into too much detail, but they are particularly helpful because they contain tryptophan, which is an amino acid, and it's a building block for serotonin. So your body's going to store the serotonin, and then when it's triggered by this activity or thought, it's released into the body, and then it'll travel down to your brain, and this helps you become happy and, just increases your overall well-being. And there's several factors that will affect your serotonin levels. So, like diet, exposure to sunlight, sleeping well, and meditation can all boost these serotonin levels naturally. But on the other hand, chronic stress, poor sleep, and inactivity can lower serotonin, which is often associated with low moods or depression. So there was a Princeton brain researcher that had noted that depression can occur when fewer new brain cells are created, with stress and age being major triggers. Meditation directly does also have an effect on serotonin production, and there were studies done at the University of Montreal that showed that mindfulness and meditation practices strengthen the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is part of the brain that's responsible for happiness. So this region is also involved in regulating serotonin levels. And so by practicing meditation, we're training our brain to produce more serotonin and maintain these higher levels. So you're able to feel calm and happier. Okay. The next chemical I want to talk about is called DHEA, or I'll say this one time, the long version, dehydroepiandrosterone. It's a mouthful, but this hormone is produced by the adrenal glands as well, the same glands that produce cortisol. So this hormone plays a key role in like energy, immunity, and like aging. One of its most important jobs is counterbalancing the effects of cortisol. So while your body is coping with stress more effectively, or sorry, while your body is, I guess, reacting to the stress, you also want to make sure your body isn't burning out. So it's funny because they are both produced in the adrenal gland, but they, like I said, counteract each other. So if your cortisol is high for too long and DHE levels are super low, your body's going to stay in that stressful mode, which can lead to you being fatigued or, leads to faster aging. Unfortunately, DHE levels do naturally decline as we age, and chronic stress can accelerate this decline even faster. So it's interesting though. Practitioners like they sometimes will measure DHE levels to determine a person's physiological true age, which they believe is like a more true indicator of their overall health rather than your chronological age. So I found that really interesting. Um, there is a lot of research out there that highlights how important DHE levels are to your overall health. There was a 12-year study done in 240 men that were between ages of 50 to 79 that found that higher DHE levels were directly linked to lower mortality. So, simply put, the less DHEA you have, the fewer years you're likely to live. And then the American Board of Anti-Aging Medicine found that meditation practitioners had a 43.77% DHE levels compared to non-meditators. And there was also a similar study done in the International Journal of Research in Medical Sciences that looked at first year medical students under acute stress. And the students who were practicing meditation had a significant increase in these levels compared to those students in the control group where they weren't practicing meditation and they actually experienced a decrease in these levels. So I thought that was really interesting as well. Okay, so the fourth chemical I'm going to talk about is called GABA, which stands for gamma aminobutyric acid. It is your brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, and what that basically means is that it's your brain's natural brake pedal, right? It's going to calm your body down and prevent you from overstimulating. So when your GABA levels are healthy, your brain is going to feel very relaxed and focused. But when your GABA levels are low, your brain is going to be overstimulated. So this is going to lead to anxiety, irritability, racing thoughts, and possibly even panic attacks. So meditation, it has been shown significantly increases GABA activity in the brain. So there have been brain imaging studies that have been done that show that meditation boosts activity in the prefrontal cortex. So the area for the prefrontal cortex, like we talked about for serotonin, that's the area of the brain that also releases GABA and helps regulate your emotional state. Also, this place is where it slows down fast beta brain waves, which are linked to stress, and then increases alpha brain waves, which are associated with a relaxed focus state. There was also a study done in 2010 by some psychiatrists at Boston University of Medicine that found that a 27% increase in GABA levels, there was a 27% increase in GABA levels just after 60 minutes of exercises, which I think is such a crazy amount if you think about it. And it's even crazier to think this, but it's more effective than physical exercise for raising GABA levels. That kind of blew my mind because I was just like, I feel like we're always talking about how exercise like helps us. But obviously meditation is doing more for us than physical exercise. It's like you're exercising your brain, right? So I found that really, really interesting. Then the next chemical I'm going to talk about are endorphins. I feel like this is another one that people usually hone on or they hear about often. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a runner's high or if we have any runners in this group. I definitely do not run. I work out, but I don't run. But usually after running, or sometimes even when you are, like you hear a really funny joke and you just can't handle it, and you're gonna feel this this like euphoric feeling, pain-free feeling, and that's thanks to endorphins. They're our body's natural painkillers and mood elevators, right? They're released in response to stress, pain, and even pleasure. There's more than 20 different types of endorphins, but the one that we know the most about is called beta endorphin. And they're the most potent ones in reducing pain and basically producing feelings of well-being. They work by binding to the opioid receptors in your body. And this is really interesting. I found this interesting. I don't know how many of you guys would know about the drug morphine. I feel like if you've taken it, I mean, it's not really prescribed in pain clinics often. Like you would really have to be going through a lot of pain, or it would be a very like a last line thing. But it's a very, very strong pain medication. There's a lot of side effects with like it leading to possibly death. So it's something that's very controlled. Um, it's interesting because endorphins can are bind to the same receptors that morphine also attaches to. Obviously, morphine is a drug and there's side effects, but we also produce something similar to morphine like endorphins, and it's your basically your body's own drug, right? And it's going to help with the pain and mood as well. So I found that fact really interesting. There was a study done in 1995 in the Biological Psychology Journal that looked at 11 elite runners, so like the best runners in their group, and then 12 experienced meditators. And both groups had high endorphin levels after completing their activity, but the meditators reported a stronger and longer lasting mood boost. So basically, you can feel the same runner's high without breaking a sweat just by sitting quietly and meditating. So that is very fascinating. So that's a little bit about endorphins. The next chemical I want to talk about are growth hormones. I feel like when people hear this term, they immediately think about kids getting taller or like bodybuilders gaining muscle, but growth hormones are much more than that. So in your childhood, your growth hormones are responsible for the growth of your bones and muscles, but it doesn't stop working once we're done growing. So in adulthood, your growth hormones are going to make sure your body is, or your bones are strong. You maintain like a healthy muscle mass. You help the body from burning fat. It supports heart function, so all of that good stuff. However, starting in your like early 30s, your growth hormone is going to like the production is going to decline. And so usually with this decline, we're going to see like muscle loss and like bone thinning and like more body fat. So when we think of aging, I think one of the main culprits behind it is low growth hormone levels. And this is why you'll see people with like joint pain and like osteoporosis, all of that stuff. With with all of this happening, you see like people, especially like celebrities, like spending like thousands of dollars each year on like growth hormone injections or you like ointments and like cosmetics or like Botox, laser, things like that. But we do have a natural supply of anti-aging serum. It's called, meditation. Like it's going to help you produce growth hormone and make you I guess like in a sense help rebuild your body from inside out. And how it's doing that is that our brain releases the most growth hormone during the delta state, and the delta waves are the slowest brain waves and are more dominant during our deep sleep. But when you're in deep state during meditation, these growth hormone levels increase. So this is how like you're triggering a similar growth hormone release as you would in a deep sleep. And then the last hormone I want to talk about, or chemical, is called melatonin. Um, when we think of melatonin, I feel like we just think of it as a signal telling you, hey, it's like time to sleep, but it does a lot more than that. It helps repair your damaged cells. It makes your body better at fighting off infections. It plays like a role in the aging process. So there's a lot that melatonin will do. It's also melatonin production is also very sensitive to your environment, especially like light exposure and stress. So when you're going to sleep, try to not have like bright lights around you. Sometimes like when I'm like about to go to bed and I'm looking at my phone, I turn on my like sleep screen on my iPhone, and it helps me like not stay awake as long as I want to. So like melatonin production, like I said, is very sensitive to your environment. Also, chronic stress and elevated cortisol levels, like what we talked about in the first couple of slides, it can block melatonin production. And also, as we age, melatonin production will naturally decline, which is one reason why older adults often struggle with sleep and recovery. So, how does meditation come into play? So, when you meditate, you're activating that part of your body called the parasympathetic nervous system, but in other words, like your rest and digest state or your rest and repair state that counterbalances your stress response. So, this shift will lower your cortisol, removing, one of the factors of like melatonin production. So when you get rid of cortisol, the pineal gland is what is creating this melatonin level or melatonin. And so once you get rid of the cortisol, you're able to produce more melatonin and you're able to sleep better. And then Rutgers University did a study where it showed that um, melatonin levels increase by an average of 98% after meditation, and then some individuals showed increases of over 300%. That is very impressive, and that is a very high number. And what's even crazier is that these elevated melatonin levels persisted for days after the session. So this basically means that meditation doesn't just help you fall asleep, but it can help you sleep better and give you that quality of life that you would like. So, uh, these are basically the seven chemicals I wanted to go through. I just wanted to give you guys a brief overview and not bore you guys to death on like the very specific stuff. But when learning about this, it was super interesting, and there's so much research out there that I hope you guys take the time to look at. But that is all for me. I will take any questions, or if you guys want to share your journey and talk about if you've experienced any of this. After I meditate specifically, I feel very sleepy. I am a light sleeper and it's hard for me to sleep sometimes, but I've noticed when I meditate, I fall asleep faster and I don't wake up in the middle of the night. So I do see the positive effects and the benefits for meditation. So I would love to hear what you guys have to say.
One thing that I've noticed is